Do you remember this? January 2018, when the false missile attack woke a lot of people up in Hawaii. This is something that really shook a lot of people and kicked them out of their normalcy bias mindset, really challenged the idea of what it means to be safe, secure, and prepared. Doug Barry here. I appreciate you joining me for this video. I recently interviewed Jason Jones. He lived in Hawaii at the time. Jason is the founder and head of VPP, Vulnerable People Project. They do a lot of great work, humanitarian work throughout the world. You can check out their link in the description below. I want you to hear this interview that I had with Jason. Check this out. So I'm here with Jason Jones. Jason, you and I have been friends for a long time. And I remember when we had the Hawaii missile, threat, warning, false alarm many years ago. I had just come out to speak at a conference out there after this happened. You were still living there before you moved to Texas. And I remember asking you, so when this hit, did you pray about what to do? And you said, no, I had already prayed and I was already prepared and I knew what to do. Give me a rundown about what you did when that first of all, the whole background behind that warning. You were like told 30 to 45 minutes, I think, before this alleged missile from North Korea might hit Hawaii. And then how did you respond and react? And how important is preparation when it comes to things like that?
Yeah, well, preparation is very important. And, people thought I was crazy because I had a plan since the mid 1990s when we were first told that North Korea might attack Hawaii. And by the way, it was great seeing you at my parish. It was always great seeing my friends from the mainland, eating malasadas at my parish after a talk,
That's cool.
And
that was cool.
But so I had a plan, and I think even my wife and my family and my friends think I'm a little crazy because I have all these plans. And the plan was, in case of an incoming ballistic missile, that we had 2 minutes, and I timed it. We had 2 minutes to get the car filled, 12 minutes to get the mountain between us and Pearl Harbor, and it would take about 36 minutes for us to get to the cave, Makua Cave, where there is fresh water in the cave, and there are also showers in a beach kind of bathroom there, and it's really remote, as far as you can get from Pearl Harbor, with nothing but mountain between you and Pearl Harbor. So when I was actually pulling the trash out and the alarm went off, and I had the trash halfway to the curb when I looked at my phone and it said, "This is not a test. Incoming ballistic missile. Seek shelter.
Take immediate action measures. Repeat. The U.S. Pacific Command has detected a missile threat to Hawaii. A missile may impact on land or sea within minutes. This is not a drill. If you are indoors, stay indoors. If you are outdoors, seek immediate shelter in a building."
This is not a drill. If you are indoors, stay indoors. If you are outdoors, seek immediate shelter in a building. Remain indoors well away from windows. If you are driving, pull safely to the side of the road and seek shelter in a building or lay on the floor. We will announce when the threat has ended. This is not a drill.
So the way I explain it to people, when you live in Hawaii, this is something you've been warned about all the time since the mid 90s. So you're not kind of surprised. It's like, okay, today's the day. I yelled at my wife. She got the same thing. We had go bags. My wife's go bags were all of her documents, birth certificates. In her bag, she had birth certificates, passports, social security cards, and other sort of important documents and information for the family. And then I had my go bag, which was weapons, ammunition, and cases of food and bottles of water. So I yelled at my boys. They knew what to do. And we loaded the car, and we were actually moving it in less than 2 minutes.
Wow.
Now, to put this in perspective, I was wearing surf shorts and a tank top, no shoes. We all jump in the car with whatever we were in, pajamas or whatever, because it was in the morning. And we're racing to get to the mountain. We made it to the Waianae mountain range before the 12-minute mark. I knew that it takes 17 minutes for a nuclear missile to hit. And I remember at the 17-minute mark, just feeling every muscle in my back begin to tense. And I just knew that I would see a white flash in my rearview mirror. And I wanted to get as close to Makua Cave as I could before I saw that flash. Here we are, 17, 18, 19 minutes. There's no more alerts. There's no more a stand down. There's no more, this was a false alert. And so I was thinking either one of two things. It's a false alarm, or they intercepted one of North Korea's missiles, and there could be more coming. And so just keep going. And we literally, just as we got to the cave, and I told my family to grab everything and bring it into the cave. And I would thought everyone would have had the same idea to go to Makua Cave, but no one did.
I was going to ask you that if anybody else showed up there.
Nobody.
Wow.
In fact, at one point, as I was racing down the road, a guy's gun's behind me and he pulls next to me. And I thought he was going to yell at me for driving so fast like a madman. And he goes, "Hey, brah, where are you going? You look like you have a plan." He literally said it. "You look like you have a plan." And I said, "I do. Go to Makua Cave." And like, we're driving. And now I have my family in the car. And he says, "But my wife and kids are in Waipahu."
Mm.
And what should I do? I said, "Bro, you do not have time to make it to your kids. Make it to the cave."
Wow.
And he nodded, he slowed down, and he turned around to drive back towards Waipahu, which would have been near ground zero. A beautiful moment in the midst of all of that. Well, we get to the cave, and then just as we're unloading the car, running to the cave, this was a false alarm alert goes off. And as I'm walking in the cave, there's a German tourist coming out of the cave. He must have been in there for an hour or so. And he looked like a German tourist. He had the hat, he had the cane, he had the outfit, you know. Here I have surf shorts, a tank top, no shoes, a family that doesn't look like they belong to me because, you know, they don't look like me, my family. And I have my 9mm just sitting in my waist pass, my surf shorts. And then I say, "Well, I guess we're not going to die today." And he has this like look on his face, like, "What are you talking about?" And I said, "You don't know about the false missile alert." He didn't. I had explained it to him.
Oh, wow.
And then he sighed because he must have been so deep in the cave, he didn't get the alert.
Sure.
But one of the things that I realized in retrospect was because my wife and children all had a plan and they all had tasks to complete and milestones to hit, that we were not traumatized by this. And a lot of my family and friends really were traumatized. One of our neighbors almost didn't talk to us ever again, to be honest. It ruined our relationship because she just stayed in her home and cried. And with her kids, they went in the bathtub and hunkered down for 36 minutes and cried. They felt helpless.
Wow.
And she was mad that I didn't bang on the door to get her. But the truth is, again, I knew I had exactly 17 minutes to put that mountain between my family and Pearl Harbor. And in a best case scenario, it could take, depending on traffic, 12 minutes to 45 minutes. And so there was just no time. And even if I would have told them before, people would have laughed at me, right? And a lot of my friends said, "See, you did all of that for nothing." But well, it wasn't for nothing. Number one, my children weren't traumatized.
Yeah.
They had action items. And number two, it worked. Like the plan, I was like, wow, this would have worked.
Yeah, I think a lot of people get stuck in the normalcy bias mindset where everything's normal. I'm biased to that normalcy. Nothing's going to happen. And when you go out of the way to do things like you describe, or like we talk about BRC having a plan, it just seems over the top. Like, what if you never have to use this? Well, okay, maybe you won't in certain circumstances, but your kids and you and your wife, of course, your kids are trained to have a perspective and a mentality to handle crisis in general, wouldn't you say, when things like that happen?
And it's happened. So when COVID came, I have 6 months of food, 3 months of water. The lockdown was really brutal in Hawaii, very, very brutal. And some families were really scared. And so what I was able to do is, because I had so much food, we went door to door, and we went and I have so much toilet paper, everything that people run to get, I have enough of forever.
Yeah.
And we went and became sort of the storehouse for the community. And not only were we able to be the storehouse, the community for things like toilet paper and rice. We had a lot of rice. We were bringing everyone rice in Hawaii. We love rice. A lot of homeless ministries shut down during COVID because they were ordered to by the state. And well, I thought that was absurd. And my number, I gave it to all the homeless communities on Oahu. And my children and I were sort of like, Uber Eats during COVID. We're just driving, filling up my pickup truck with food.
Yeah.
And that was coming from what was stored up for us.
Yeah.
You see? And we were able to do that because we were prepared. And in the end, we didn't use it for us. We used it for our family, our friends, our neighbors. And another thing that we do, being an old infantryman, I know that morale is very important.
Yes.
When you're eating MREs for months, you need something fun. And I've learned hot sauce is always fun. And so I have hundreds of bottles of different types of hot sauces in our storage. Also, I have like, hundreds of bags of different kinds of fun candy, because these are really cheap, easy to store things that last forever, that are really good for morale. So during COVID, we were giving people bottles of hot sauce and giving kids candies, and this was just something really good to alleviate the suffering
Yeah.
of my friends and family. And then we moved to Texas, and again, we have the Great Freeze.
Yeah.
Our pipes don't break, but many of our neighbors' pipes broke. Well, I have 3 months supply of water for 7 people.
Mm.
And so I was able to then it was a real privilege for me. We were new here, and it feels good. I was really grateful that I was able to run the water to my neighbors. The other thing is, when you store food, it might last 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. And when it starts to expire, you can bring that to the food shelter.
Yeah.
So you're still, putting it to use. And I would say, Doug, I do have normalcy bias too. I just run the Vulnerable People Project. So the month before I was taking my family to a cave, I was in Iraq near caves with the Peshmerga, the Kurdish forces, as they were fighting ISIS. And a lot of the Yazidis and Christians ran to caves.
Yeah.
I work in places where normal is war and poverty and logistical nightmares and access to food. So I too have normalcy bias. So in many ways, I'm hyper vigilant. Because my normalcy is it's always a challenge to get nutrition or medical care to communities.
Yeah, normal for you is recognizing the frailty of the system and the structure, and how easily it can be disrupted, be it weather or war, or even threats of war and such can cause people to panic, and they can lose their wits. Protests, uprisings, as we're seeing right now in parts of America, like in LA, the riots. I mean, you just never know when you're going to have some sort of situation that could really throw you completely off kilter. Even getting home. I mean, we talk a lot in BRC about the importance of having a plan on alternate routes and know how to read a map in case the GPS goes down, cyber attacks, or just somebody hits the wrong button technically in some office somewhere, and all of a sudden, the cloud's not working and you don't have access to what you're used to technologically. Well, if you can't communicate with your kids and there's no GPS, have you even talked to your kids about getting home or getting to another safe place? You think that plays into this as well?
It definitely does. And in fact, just last week, I think for most of America, Google Maps was down.
It was. Yeah.
So this is a reality. And then some people might be thinking, well, Jason, I can't afford, or I don't have the ability to store 6 months of food for a family of 7, so I couldn't serve my community. Well, even if you just have 6 months of food for you and your wife, let's say you're retirees, you are 2 less people in line.
Yeah.
You are 2 less mouths for your community to feed. And also you're safe. You don't have to go out into the chaos you saw in Gaza last week, all the violence and injuries that took place in the food lines. So, you keep your family safe. You're not a burden on the system. And you're one less person in line, so things are going to move along faster for the people that need help.
Yeah.
So I think you're right, and we're just seeing right now around the world and at home. Like last week, Google Maps was out. In fact, it was out for me today. I don't know what was going on today, and it was we're becoming dependent on it. I needed to go from one place I should know how to get to without it, and go to another place I should be able to get to without it. But I was kind of confused. I was like, oh no, how do I do this? Because we've become dependent on it.
And guys our age, I mean, we know how to read maps. I grew up with maps. I don't go anywhere without a road atlas in my vehicle or my backpack. Even when I'm flying somewhere, I keep a road atlas, of the country, at least in my backpack, my travel bag.
Can I give your audience some fun games to play?
Yeah, go ahead.
It's a friend of mine. She does this. She travels a lot for work. She's a young woman, and her friends will go to a town with a travel map, and they'll have adventures trying to find places on the travel map. So you can really teach your kids, let's say you live in, New York City, or you live in Jersey, you go into New York, you give your kids a travel map, and you say, okay, like, what's your favorite clothing store? Like, find it on the map. You go from the hotel. How are you going to get there? There's a lot of, or let's find tourist destinations, but let's leave our phones at home. We'll get a digital camera for pictures, and let's just do today at the tourist destination with a map.
That's good.
Let's go visit grandma just using a road atlas. These are the types of things that can be kind of games. You could even, like, with my family with 7 kids, we're taking 2 cars at least. Okay, let's see who can get there first, using only road atlases, so you can have fun with this as well.
Yeah. That's good. That's good. And that's the thing. Again, building the morale, having, using games as a way to form and shape and train. And this is long-term stuff, because, you're going to die, I'm going to die, our kids, God willing, are going to live on. And you want to instill these things in them, just like teaching them how to jumpstart a car, which is so easy these days with the little devices you can buy, the size of a cell phone practically, a couple little cables on it. You put them on the terminals, the battery, turn it on, start your car up. There was a time when we were younger when you had to find somebody nearby, pull out the jumper cables, have them pull the car up close enough so the batteries could reach with the cables and all. And, we've created a system that is simple enough that fixing a flat, you can fix a flat on your tire without even taking it off your car in some cases. It's just a matter of training our young to be able to do these things. And I know you got kids, you're still training. All mine have moved
10 people
out.
died this weekend in San Antonio. 10 people died from a rainstorm. 10 people drowned. So these challenges are here.
Yeah.
It's not just the apocalypse we're preparing for. We don't need to prepare for the apocalypse, by the way. That's not what we're preparing for.
That's exactly.
The confession and the rosary is what prepares, and penance. And
yes,
but, I'm not storing hot sauce for the apocalypse.
So the hot sauce isn't to deal with the Antichrist. Is that kind of not what you're?
I don't know. Maybe it works. Like, you put it on the mark of the beast. So I don't know.
It might be a deterrent. Yeah. Well, Jason, this is awesome, man. Thanks for joining this to answer these questions, talk about this stuff, and God bless you with the work you're doing. I'll put a link in the description for vulnerablepeopleproject.com. I support 100% the work you're doing and encourage our audience to go check it out.
Yeah, Doug, they can go look and they can see what happens when people have normalcy bias, and then the big black blob of violence and chaos comes to their community, and that's where VPP serves. A lot of times these people, we have prejudices to these communities, but we don't know. Gaza was a very sophisticated community with all of the modern amenities, and we can look and see how they're struggling to survive now.
Yeah, good point. Excellent. Well, encourage your audience to do that. All right, brother. Thank you so much. Good to have you with us.
Thanks, Doug.
Safety and security ultimately is very fragile. Many people do live in the normalcy bias mindset. They don't believe that something bad, seriously bad, could happen to them. Or if it does, someone's going to come and take care of it, right? If there's a natural disaster, someone's going to come and bring me water and food, right? Someone will come and save me if there's a flood. This is where a lot of people live, in this way of thinking. Or they just simply don't think it could ever come to their doorstep at all. And yet at the time I record this, we are seeing all kinds of activity in the world with war and uprisings and violence. Look at what's happening between Iran and Israel, and the threats, even against the US, if they step into this on a more escalated scale. We see China threatening. We see Russia and Ukraine going at it. We see the uprisings and the riots in the United States that just seem to come out of nowhere. And yet there's so much more behind the scenes that we don't even know about. We have seen this over and over again. Go back to the BLM riots, for example. We know natural disasters happen all the time, and yet still people don't take steps to be better prepared. It really is an incredible thing if you think about it. There's so much at stake. Ultimately, hope is a big piece of what's at stake. Hope in the hearts and minds of those that God has entrusted to your care and mine. I encourage you to go out to brcoalition.com. Link is in the description. Take a look at the Be Ready Emergency Preparedness course that we offer. This is a powerful way to take steps to put you in a position to be empowered and leaps and bounds ahead of where you might be right now when it comes to preparedness for multiple different problems that could come your way. Anything from a flat tire to teaching your kids how to read a map in case their GPS goes down. Or consider this: food, water, shelter, medical, and even protection and defense if there's civil unrest, rioting, and things of that nature. We see it happening all around us. Now, there's a difference between being anxious about these things and simply responding with a sense of urgency because we know these things can happen to us. I want to lean towards urgency with a prepared mindset that goes with it. I don't want anxiety. I don't want fear. I want motivation of urgency, as you heard in Jason's explanation of what happened in Hawaii to him and his family. That urgency, combined with preparedness, That plan of action brings hope. That's what we're called to be as Christians in this world, instruments of hope. So again, go out to beourcoalition.com. That link, again, as I mentioned, is in the description. Take a look at the Be Ready Emergency Preparedness course. Get signed up now while it's on sale, and let's take the steps necessary. Remember, it's not just about you or me. It's also about those that God has entrusted to our care. And that may be anybody at any given moment that is around you if and when something tragic or disastrous happens. How will we respond? As the saying goes, when everything hits the fan, you react to the highest level of training that you've had. Many people have no training and no preparedness. That's an unnerving thing to think about. Don't be that person. I don't want to be that person. Let's work together. Let's be better prepared. God bless and strengthen you. I appreciate you joining me. Share this with other people. Let's take action now while we can. God's given us this moment to do something. Let's respond. God bless you.